How's it going, fam? Welcome back to Erica's EDC. And today we are doing the full review of Pop's ProCut versus ADCR V2. Guys, this is a project that I've been working on for many months. I'm very excited to share my findings with you. This is not meant to necessarily steer people away from either steel. This is literally comparative testing that I've been doing for a number of months, and I found some really cool characteristics about the steels. I think I have a pretty good handle on what they work best with, so I'm just going to share all of that with you. And like I said, this is after months of testing, not just like a week, months. So what were we testing? We were testing the Caleb's Cleavers Walkabout in ADCR V2, and we were testing the mini Layman, I believe this is called, from Joey Berry over at Pop's Knife Supply. JB Knifeworks, if it'll focus, JB Knifeworks. So these are both, I would say, EDC sized knives. The Walkabout is more of an EDC style blade overall, whereas the mini Layman, I think, is probably more of a Skinner. It's got a longer handle, shorter blade, kind of almost that caping style knife. Got a really cool guard here, but it didn't really matter because the design didn't change the outcome of how the steel worked in this particular situation. So we were working with this kind of style here with the ProCut, and this has the toughness optimized heat treat. And the ADCR V2 is a forged knife, and this is at 64.5 to 65 HRC. This one is 63. So these two knives, both of the people that made these knew what I was going to do with them. The goal was to try to figure out if the hypothesis about ProCut was true. And if you are unaware, when ProCut was released, there was a hypothesis that because of the way they orchestrated the composition, it would make almost every other low alloy simple carbon steel not necessary anymore. If you wanted to use them for fun just because you like to, sure. But in terms of purpose-driven characteristics, ProCut was meant to push everything else out of the way, essentially. So steels like ADCR V2, it would do better than this. It would do better in every sense than everything else. To understand how it would, perform better, we have to talk about the fields that it literally scientifically does perform better. So to go more in depth about this, you can look at all of the charts that were released on ProCut, all of the testing, Layman stuff, Pop stuff, but basically ProCut was designed to be easy to forge, easy to heat treat, easy to work with, easy to grind, easy to cut. In performance, in the final design of a knife, it was supposed to have incredible toughness, as in the level of like 5160, 8670, and great edge retention, more over on the side of like Apex Ultra, okay? So it is a high nickel steel. You can forge it, you can do stock removal, you can do whatever you want with it, and it's supposed to basically perform better than almost everything else in the low alloy class. The only downfall it kind of sort of has is that it is not stainless. However, throughout my testing, I showed you guys it's fairly stain resistant for a low alloy simple carbon steel. It's not the easiest to rust this. I haven't really been able to rust it. It will take a patina, which, the camera will never focus, but this has a patina on it. You can definitely see up at the front, but in terms of pitting, rusting, etc., it does not really do that bad, from what I found. Steels like 1095, ADCR V2, 1084, 1075, All of those steels are really popular because they're easy to forge. They generally have a pretty severe downfall, whether it's really poor toughness or really poor edge retention. You also have to remember a lot of the low alloy steels during heat treat lose essentially all carbide that they have, so you have no carbide volume, and you are sheerly you're cutting with the hardness, okay? You're cutting with the hardness of the blade, but a lot of people don't, well, a lot of makers don't bring these low alloy steels above 60 HRC, when in reality you need them 63, 64, 65 to even have any type of edge retention, okay? So the whole purpose of ProCut was to be easy for the maker, give you everything you love about simple carbon steels, but with actual performance. It also can be used as the layers in Damascus. So ProCut really does do kind of everything. I know this sounds like a magic steel, and it kind of is. Props to Joey and Laren for, executing this whole thing. But I wanted to see if there really were differences, true differences, and I felt that ADCRV2 was the best way to compare it because that's one of the most popular steels that people have a weird cult obsession with. They say it's the best, so I put them head to head. Like I said, both makers knew what I was doing. Caleb was amazing. He likes working with ADCRV2. He made this to the best of his ability. Like I said, it's 64.5 to 65 HRC, and he was willing to be like, you know what, I made this to the best of my ability. If you find that, ProCut does better, then woohoo, I'm not going to be butthurt. Like, I'm willing to see which one is better, basically. So, we tested them for many, many months. We did everything with it. The dog food processing, game processing. We did batoning, feather sticking, campcraft, garden stuff, cutting cardboard. Everything that you can think of was done with these. You can see more of the wear on the ADCRV2 knife because it had that forge finish with that, kind of dark etch, and through batoning it wore off quite a bit, so you can see the wear on the Walkabout way more than that belt finish mini Layman. The good news is the ADCRV2, in my opinion, did not fail. However, I did notice a couple of critical differences between the steels that I find are worthy of, kind of putting this one to rest and being like, you know what, there really isn't a reason to use this anymore unless you just like to. But in terms of performance, there's truly no reason to carry on the ADCRV2 hype anymore. ProCut is where it's at. The biggest point of difference that I found between these two blades was abrasive material edge holding. That is where the ProCut absolutely was shining. So I sharpened both of these the same exact way. I used them the same way, all of the things. There wasn't a ton of difference in a couple of the tests, but the biggest one that I found there was a major difference in was the abrasive cutting test. So cardboard and batoning wood that had a layer of dirt on the top, sand, dirt, pebbles, whatever, batoning through that layer of dirt, and the edge holding going through a piece of knotty wood, making it out on the end, and the sharpness that it had at the end of that. The ADCRV2 is a steel where the moment it starts to hit anything abrasive, it loses front end sharpness completely. I like to call this glassing out. Basically what happens is cardboard, rope, dirt covered wood that you're batoning through with force, anything like that where the literal apex is going through something abrasive, ADCRV2 in general tends to lose its bite very, very quickly. It can hold an edge for an okay period of time doing, tasks that aren't really abrasive, like maybe feather sticking with wood, or kitchen tasks. But in terms of the abrasive stuff, guys, it just loses that bite very, very quickly, regardless of how well it's done, okay? So with this knife, the moment that I did any type of cardboard, rope, paracord, whatever type deal, that front end sharpness just kind of disappeared. And I sharpened this very, very well on the KME. Razor, like hair whittling sharp, okay? And it just kind of poops the bed very quickly with abrasive stuff. The ProCut does not do that. The ProCut is very impressive where you can baton through mud-covered wood or dirt-covered rope or whatever, and at least from my experience, it keeps an aggressive bite. The way that it dulls is different than this. And this is a video that I just made a couple, I think it was like a week ago or something. Manners in which steels dull, okay? Not everyone cares, I do. I just like the way that ProCut dulls more. It breaks down for me in a more aggressive manner, leaving a toothier working edge as you use it, whereas ADCRV2 for me glasses out very quickly. And again, it's because no matter how you heat treat ProCut, it is holding some sort of carbide volume, whether you do the toughness recipe or the edge holding recipe. ProCut holds an amount of carbide volume regardless. ADCRV2, you're very, very lucky if you hold on to any carbide volume. It goes away. It is gone after you heat treat it, unless you did some magical thing. The carbide volume is generally toasted, okay? So you're cutting with just the hardness, and that's not something that I appreciate a ton in a knife, okay? In terms of sharpening, they were both extremely easy to sharpen. A beautiful sharpening experience. The ADCRV2 was amazing to do on the KME. I didn't need any crazy stuff. I didn't need a really low grit or anything. The burr came up amazing. The burr removed very well, which was a nice change for me because a lot of the ADCRV2 that I've had was either botched or had a lot of RA. So you had, you know, a really thick wire burr that won't even come off. Caleb did a wonderful job on this ADCRV2. A pleasure to sharpen, very, very easy to deburr. Took a nice toothy edge, also took a really nice polished edge. The ProCut, also amazing. Ridiculously easy to deburr. Very quick sharpening process. You don't need diamonds, you can use whatever you want. Both of them were awesome. In terms of edge stability, they were both nearly the same. Batoning, impact tasks, cross batoning, anything like that. I know some people don't think that does anything, but when you're batoning through knots or, again, like mud-covered wood, it can do things in my world, and both edges were extremely stable. If anything happened, it was just very slight flattening, like rolling of the apex or just flat spots on both of them. Zero real edge damage, zero chipping, no material going missing. They were both phenomenal with that, so that was really cool. Corrosion resistance, basically the same. There's nothing on either of these. They obviously have patina and stuff, but no corrosion, no nothing like that. Great toughness, great strength. Neither of these had any type of warping issues or anything throughout use. Obviously, this really shouldn't. I mean, this is a fat slab of ADCRV2. The mini Layman is a little thinner, but I did baton with this. Nothing happened to it at all. Nice and straight still. And I batoned some pretty hefty pieces of wood. Like I said, they both did really, really well. I just find that ProCut has way better abrasive edge retention as opposed to ADCRV2. For me, I just don't really see a reason for this anymore because it's that one critical point where it's like, for me, I want a knife to perform as a knife for as long as humanly possible, and what a knife is supposed to do is cut. So if it's like, you know, this knife cuts longer than this knife, by science. Why wouldn't you? And we can even bring price into this, guys. ProCut is very, very cheap. Very cheap, okay? Anybody can afford to work with ProCut. It is not expensive. So there's just, for me, in the extensive use that I did, there's just zero reason for me to pursue anything in ADC or V2 anymore. This is also including, again, like 1075, 1095, 1084, 15N20. I just don't, there's just not really a reason. ProCut is right up there, again, in toughness with 5160 and 8670, which are the toughest steels, and it was pretty close to Apex Ultra with the edge retention. A lot of those steels all bunched up in the middle of the low alloy class, I don't see anything that they do that this cannot. The only steel that I think still kind of sort of holds its own is maybe 52100. That's a pretty good low alloy steel. It has decent edge retention. It is not stainless, obviously, but I find that the corrosion resistance is pretty okay as long as you take care of it. That's the only steel I can really think of in kind of the middle of the low alloy class that like maybe still can hold its own. It's kind of like the same as ProCut, honestly, again, from my testing. But other than that, all of the other ones just don't. I see zero reason, because they don't have anything at all. I mean, ProCut has like 3 times the toughness of ADC or V2. ProCut has, I think, like 4 times the toughness of 1095. So for what it's worth, and again, this is not to crap all over the steel or anything. I just wanted to come on here, and for anyone curious as to if there really is a difference, there is in the most important part of a knife, which is the cutting ability. If you want your knife to cut as a knife for a long period of time, and that's important to you, this one just doesn't, it's not even close to the same as ProCut. It really isn't. Somebody did a kind of cool test as well on that. Scott Larimore of CD Knives, he did a reel on his Instagram a little while ago where he took, I think it was ProCut, CPM1V, and AEBL, and he did the dirty toe strap cutting, and the ABL dulled with the one and only first cut, and the CPM 1V and the ProCut held an edge longer. So in my opinion, ADC or V2, ABL, 1084, 1075, all of those, 1095, all of those steels are kind of like, they glass out very, very quickly. ProCut definitely was comparable in my testing to 1V, 52100 for sure. Just a really good toothy steel. I found that it also had comparable experiences to even M4. And M4 is a pretty cool, pretty good steel. So even though it's low alloy, I think it has qualities of high alloy steels, and it really was impressive to me. So for anyone that was kind of curious about that, I know we haven't really been talking about ProCut that much because the hype has died down. There are other things going on in the world, but I've been really spending a number of months using them side by side. It just works better. Even with feather sticking, you notice the ADC or V2 losing that bite pretty quickly, and it'll still work, it'll still feather stick, but just that keen bite that you can get during your sharpening just immediately kind of gets shot. And the ProCut, you just feel, is more aggressive. It has more bite going into wood, it has more bite going into rope, more bite going into plastic. It just doesn't glass out. It just doesn't glass out like ADC or V2 does. So if that means anything to you and you've been on the fence about trying ProCut, I highly suggest that you do. It does everything better. It doesn't fall short. It really is an awesome steel to work with. So Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Please check out JB Knifeworks. He's not taking orders right now, but he's an awesome guy. Joey Berry, one of the 3 owners over at Pops. Check out Joey's work. He's the one that made, did the ProCut with Laren. So check out Joey Berry, JB Knifeworks, and please really check out Caleb's Cleavers. He's making knives in ProCut. He works with everything, MagnaCut, 3V, you name it, he'll work with it. His Walkabout model is a fantastic EDC knife. This really is a very universal design. You can use it as a camp knife, you can use it as an EDC knife. The handle is ridiculously comfortable, very stout, just a beast of a knife. He is making them with thinner stock now, not forged, but Caleb's work is really, really nice. This is my 2nd knife from him, and I beat the pulp out of this thing and absolutely adored it the entire time. So check out Caleb's Cleavers, the Walkabout model. Very, very cool. Very cool little, almost like a Warncliffe knife. Really cool design. But check out both of the boys. There you have it, guys. Pops ProCut versus ADC or V2. ProCut just above and beyond as a cutting tool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. I'll see you guys on the next video. I love you so much, fam. Take care.